This video is going to be a film study look at J.K. Dobbins' performance in the Chargers' 22-10 win over the Raiders in Week 1. Dobbins rushed for 135 yards and a touchdown. Really exploded, I think, in the second half as the Chargers' run game kind of got going. This is one of my most enjoyable film study videos to do. I've been looking forward to this since he signed with the Chargers, hoping that he could have a performance like this. It would be wonderful if he was healthy all season, but you never know. So after I saw the performance that he put forth in the Chargers' Week 1 win, I decided to do a film study video because, A, I wanted to show respect to a young man who has fought through so much, dating back to an ACL injury in 2021 in a preseason game, no less, fighting back to play in 2022 in an abbreviated, I guess, 2.5 quarters that he played for the Ravens in 2023. This will be a look at some of the run concepts that Greg Roman and the Chargers used. Of course, they didn't have much success throwing the ball at all. I think Justin Herbert threw for like maybe 170. They got a lot going on the ground, especially with Dobbins, but not early. Early on, it seemed like the run game was struggling. Credit to the Raiders' defense. I thought those guys played really physical and fast, whether it was shotgun run concepts or under center stuff. Dobbins just really couldn't get loose and find any room. This is a fourth possession run play out of 11 personnel to the boundary. And we'll give you the end zone angle so you can see it a little bit more clearly. There's just nowhere to go. If you're a Chargers fan, you're watching, I do have something to say about the depth here. We seem to be a little bit closer than I remember Greg Roman's running backs in this particular formation and these concepts, these outside zone stuff into the boundary. There's nothing there for him. We'll show you the end zone angle. Everything's collapsed into his lap when he's trying to make a cut or accelerate, same play. And again, I just feel like he's a little bit close. But when he did get things going, J.K. Dobbins, I believe, had a 46-yard run, had a 61-yarder, the 12-yard touchdown that we'll show you in a little bit. The Raiders were playing incredibly fast at the second level. Spillane, I think it's Diablo, number 5, both very fast and smart, athletic inside linebackers, were closing off pretty much all running lanes if there was one. And then suddenly he's able to start popping a couple of big runs, get things going. I think he's got great vision. That should be obvious. Can he finish those long runs? Well, I guess you could say no, because he didn't finish these two on Sunday against the Raiders. But everything else he has. Escapability, can break tackles, fantastic vision. When there is something there to find, this is a counter play that I think 5 does a great job of coming downhill as Max Crosby is going to take on the kick-out block. The Chargers are pulling 2 linemen, the center and the left tackle, so they're back blocking with the guard. And the other guard, the center, is going to try to kick out Crosby. The tackle is going to pull and wrap, and it's basically a race between him and number 5 to see who can get to the line of scrimmage, and 5 wins and actually ends up going inside of the tackle's block. The tackle tries to deal with Max Crosby, who kind of juked the kick-out block initially by the center. So a really nice play by the Raiders defense. I thought they looked good at one point in the game. The Chargers are up, I think, 9-7, and then the fourth quarter happened. They ended up scoring 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and Dobbins busted a couple of big runs in the second half. This is the first one. It's a 3rd and 1. Raiders are in this like split 40 look, and I'll use the end zone angle to kind of explain that a little bit. And what it allows the offensive line to do, it allows the offensive line to get up on top of people. So you've got basically dual 3 techniques, and you'll get the end zone angle so you can see it again. And so there's this large space between them, basically both A-gaps. We would call this a split 40 defense because you have 2 10 technique inside linebackers. Not exactly what Spillane and Diablo are in. It's a 7-man front. The tight end, Hurst, is going to loop around. So you have 2 defenders here, safety and defensive end, that are being unblocked. As a result, the interior linemen are able to work up to the second level, get Spillane and Diablo blocked up. Dobbins breaks 1 tackle, able to veer out of there. Hayden Hurst, I thought, did a great job with his effort on this one. If he was able to get a little bit more of a little bit bigger piece, I believe it's of Hobbs, 39, then you're talking about a house call by J.K. Dobbins. Same play, end zone angle. So what we're talking about is these wider defensive tackles. Again, it's a 3rd and 1, so I think they're trying to compress everything down in here. 2 open A-gaps next to each other. The football background that I come from, that people have taught me, was it's a split 40 look. Hurst is stepping to the defensive end and then looping out. Additional to that, the safety is going to be unblocked. J.K. has no one. I mean, this you can't give this to someone like J.K. Dobbins, who's got great vision, still has, I think, exceptional short area burst and agility, skips out of that tackle by the defensive tackle, and then there's a lot of movement in the upper body here, so you can tell he's really trying to dig in and get out of there. Hopefully, he can get to the point where he's healthy and the upper body can stay a little bit more still and not have such a loss of efficiency. But I think this is first play of the fourth quarter after they push the ball down into the red zone. Raiders have a little bit of a gap issue here, I think. Inside linebacker number 5 is lined up over Twins. And when he steps down here, he's going to end up outside of Crosby. You'll get the end zone angle in a moment so you can see it as well. JK has always had this ability to be patient on concepts he's supposed to be patient on, and certain other ones hit him immediately, hit him downhill. This one, he sees the space that's basically afforded to him, breaks the tackle of number 5, and squirts in for a 12-yard touchdown. End zone angle, same play. Again, you're talking about base defense here by the Raiders. And then off screen to our right is the other inside linebacker, number 5. He ends up outside of the right tackle along with, so you got two guys in the same gap. No one for this gap, and JK's just too good. Regardless of how old he is, how many injuries he's sustained, the vision is there, and it's just a matter of whether he can get to that spot. And during the fourth quarter, he started to. This will be a little counter play that he bounces to the outside into the boundary. You can see it's a heavy personnel grouping by Greg Roman. 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. We'll give the end zone angle of this one in a moment. Following the fullback, kind of like this little wind back design. Greg Roman uses this a little bit with the Ravens. The fullback is stepping off the midline and then veering back to the boundary. And then JK is just going to follow him. Fullback's going to block Spillane. So when I'll explain the midline here in a moment, I'll run the all-22 back one more time. But you can see the collision that happened here between Spillane and the fullback, and then JK vision, cutability, agility, all there. Able to get around that mess. One more time from the all-22. When I talk about the midline, if you're unsure of what I mean, the midline is where the ball is. So the ball is on the midline, and the quarterback, fullback oftentimes have to exchange or give away the midline to the other, depending on the play concept. In this case, the fullback is going to get off of the midline so Herbert can have it, and then the fullback is going to bring himself back to the other side of the formation to go ISO block Spillane. Hence the term wind back, because the fullback, tailback are both. The fullback is going to the right of the midline. JK is just essentially going downhill, and then the fullback veers back into the boundary on the opposite side of where his initial step was. Not a counterplay, just a wind back zone, in my opinion. You can see the nature of what I'm talking about with the ball being on the left hash. The fullback has veered off the midline to give that to the quarterback, create space for Herbert to reverse pivot, JK downhill, and then bounces it outside. I've always loved seeing him run, going back this time with the Ravens. It's what made 2022 and 2023 so frustrating and sad in a lot of ways. All right, another big run, 61 yards this time, and I think this gives you an idea of his exceptional vision. 22 personnel, so he's got a fullback in front of him. Similar step by the fullback. Everything's all bottled up in here, and so JK is ever the guy who I think who's going to fight for more yards, look for more yards, and in this case, bust this one. You would certainly say a healthy J. I mean, he might have been tired at that point, but you are talking about 11 minutes of game time between that and his 14 minutes of game time, between that and his 46-yard run. So maybe he was tired. Maybe that's just all he's got. But I feel like there's a time period once he gets past the 40 where he just really runs out of gas. Almost like he didn't have a fifth gear. This one is even more beautiful from the end zone angle because you see the stacked up nature inside. The Raiders are bringing Max Crosby downhill in through the C gap from a basically inside linebacker Sam position. Runs. I've watched pretty much every offensive snap. Certain guys had an impact. That one led to this touchdown by Ladd McConkey. I think this is the final score for them. I think they scored 13 points, 14 points in the fourth quarter to pull away and win 22-10. Perfect, if you ask me, illustration of Greg Roman's offense at times with the Ravens. It was oftentimes running the ball extremely well early in the game and then reduced efficiency as the game went on. Here, that didn't seem to be the case. It seemed to be a less efficient early, particularly as it pertains to J.K. Dobbins. Busted 2 big runs late, had the 12-yard touchdown run, a couple of other 5, 6, or 7-yard gains, finished with 135. For me, my best story of week 1 was seeing J.K. Dobbins have a 100-yard game. A guy who was drafted by the Ravens with a lot of potential in 2020, had a spectacular rookie season. When he's been healthy, he is a 6 yards per carry running back, and that is a rare thing. I believe in 2022, he finished at like 5.88 or 5, almost 5.9. You're welcome to go back and look at the stats. And that was coming back from an injury twice in 2022 that curtailed his ability to finish off long runs. And in fact, he had 2 that he definitely would have finished in 2022 for long touchdowns. But he basically got caught, just like you saw here against the Raiders. Man, I appreciate you guys' time. If you watched the video and you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments section. If you're a Ravens fan and or Chargers fan, you probably have different levels of the story of what J.K. Dobbins has gone through to try to just get back into the NFL and be given an opportunity by Harbaugh. I think was a special thing, and now to be taken advantage of it is just fun to watch. The NFL is a brutal league, and football is a brutal sport, and sometimes feel-good stories are few and far between. This is one of them. So that's why I jumped on the opportunity to do the film study video. I hope that there's about 6 or 8 more of these in the season, and J.K. parlays this into a huge contract for him to generate wealth beyond our own comprehension for himself and his family, because he always seemed like a great dude, a competitor, and someone who believed in himself and believed in his abilities. And at least on Sunday, he got to show it. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Chargers fans would enjoy this film study video, this look at J.K. Dobbins' best runs from week 1 against the Raiders, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.